You're listening to the Get Out and Drive podcast with John, CustomCarNerd Meyer, and Jason, OldeCarrGuy Carr. We'll be bringing you gearheads everything you never wanted to know about cars and why they should be on the road and not in your garage. Are you ready to get out and drive?
Racing Junk is the #1 racing and performance marketplace where you can post your racing junk for free.
Parts, engines, race cars, trailers, project builds, muscle cars, chassis, tires, and so much more.
Buy, sell, trade, and browse on Racing Junk and turn your garage into cash in your pocket. Or find that next dream on the site, built by gearheads for gearheads.
And best of all, there's no transaction fees. 100% of what you make through your ad is yours to keep. Welcome back to another episode of Get Out and Drive podcast. My name is Jason, OldeCarrGuy Carr.
And I am John, CustomCarNerd Meyer.
You know, John, there's a lot of things that happen in the automotive industry these days that people aspire to do. And one of them just happens to be maybe, I don't know, NASCAR, driving a NASCAR.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. NASCAR's evolved quite a lot in the past 20 years, heck, 10 years, and safety and definitely electronics and everything from tires to driver to the new generation vehicles. You know, it's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, and as a youngster growing up in the 90s, I often looked at and saw, you know, I can drive fast. I can do that. Mm-hmm. I can change tires. But now, you know, 25 plus years later, I'm rocking the dad bod. So a lot of that energetic athletic stuff doesn't suit me very fine. I'm comfortable sitting.
You probably couldn't run over the wall with a floor jack with a jack at this time.
I couldn't. And I think sitting on the couch is probably my contribution to the NASCAR industry. But I've always had questions. How do folks get involved?
Man, like you're talking like get involved with NASCAR if you don't want to be a driver or can't be a driver. I mean, be involved with NASCAR at all. There's got to be hundreds of different jobs.
Absolutely. I mean, everybody aspires to want to drive one.
Yeah.
But someone's got to give you the break. Someone's got to find you. You've got to have that access into the industry. And I think today we just might have that. So today on the Get Out and Drive podcast, we have AJ Ware from Petty GMS. AJ, welcome to the podcast.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me. How you guys doing?
I'm doing very well. How are you today?
Doing great.
Awesome.
Living the dream.
Yes. I know we met and hung out for a bit at SEMA 2021 in the Racing Junk booth. That was pretty cool. Yeah,
very cool. Correct. Yep.
Tell us a little bit in a nutshell about what you do, because you're not a NASCAR driver, at least not one that I've heard of today.
Correct. No.
But you do work for NASCAR.
I do. I work for a NASCAR team. I work for where I started out as Petty Motorsports, and late last year we merged with GMS Racing. So we're now Petty GMS. We have two NASCAR Cup teams, and we split down to GMS Racing, where we have the truck team as well.
Now, how long have you been with them?
With the Richard Petty brand now, this is going on my third season. Really out, truly grinding. I would say this is my first full season because of COVID. So I'm going out to, a lot of events, getting out there, meeting people and getting my hands dirty. So I sell sponsorships for the race team. That's my job. That's my duty. And primarily, that's my only duty. Our team members have, they wear a lot of different hats, but mine primarily stays on finding revenue, for the team.
So we all know that NASCAR offers big names and sponsorships. And one of the things that we often wonder is, how much does it actually cost to get your name on that hood of that car? And I'm not asking for specific numbers. That's not what we're here to do. But people have questions like that, but there's got to be somebody behind getting that name on the hood of that car as either a primary sponsor, secondary, whatever it happens to be. What's involved from start to finish to get, say, company XYZ on the hood of that car?
Well, for me, I look for a partner that's going to complement our entire team. because Petty's been around forever, since the start of NASCAR. So he has a brand himself. Shows someone a silhouette of Richard, wearing the hat, or the shades or whatever, and everybody would know who he is. So being aligned with that brand is very delicate. So I'm going out looking for maybe family-owned businesses, or ones that are handed down or are successful, family-oriented, faith-based. So those are easy wins for me to get that. And then we talk about that. What do they want out of the sponsorship, the partnership? Because ultimately, a true sponsorship, if you're doing, or if I'm doing my job correctly, I'm solving a problem. So if I go to, I don't know, brand XYZ, so, well, hey, what's your problem? What can I help you with? How can we leverage our race team? And they tell me we want to grow in China. Well, I can't help you. We don't race in China. So that's the end of it. But if they tell me something, hey, we're trying to grow our brand over in the U.S., say from 18-year-old to 35-year-old primarily, then all right, then we got something to talk about. Then it gets granular, from there. What regions of the U.S. that you want to get into? How are we going to do it? Yeah, we'll put your name on the car, but it doesn't mean that someone's going to go out and buy your product simply because of that. They may, which is another conversation. How do we track that? So all of that is in there. How do we play in people's emotions? And then it comes down, to dollars. It's, a full season. You're talking tens of millions of dollars, to run a one-car successful NASCAR Cup program.
Wow. If you can narrow it down for our listeners, what is your job title? And generally, what do you do?
My job title is Director of Sales and Marketing for Petty GMS. I'm searching for the new partners to come into the team and make sure that they're successful. I have a saying that I'll tell myself and the team, like, it's a lot easier to keep our partners than it is for me to go out and find new ones. We bring them in. We definitely have to take care of them. Give them the wow factor, and absolutely what we have to do is to outperform what we told them during the courtship, is what I call it. We definitely have to make sure that we're over delivering on those promises.
So AJ, we talked about what you do now, your title, and what it is that you actually do for Petty GMS. I want to go back a little bit and talk about your past work experiences. Tell us how you kind of got yourself, say, from high school on up to where you are today. What did you do right out of high school?
Went to the Marine Corps.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so I'm 51, so I graduated high school in 1988. And honestly speaking, I wasn't quite ready for college yet. I didn't think so anyway. And this is why I'm cautious about my kids, what I let them watch and how I interact with kids. Tell you guys this quick story. So you guys probably remember the show, The A-Team. Oh, yes. So The A-Team's out. So I love Hannibal. I love Hannibal Smith. So if you remember, he used to shoot, sometimes he would sit in the helicopter and shoot at people. So I literally walked to my recruiter's office. Look, this is what I want to do. I want to sit in the helicopter and shoot at people. And he's like, no way. So I go out, I take the ASVAB and I pass, and it comes back, and he's like, look, you have the score to do other stuff within the Marines. I was like, no, that's all I want to do. So went to Parris Island, graduated, ended up going to Camp Geiger here in North Carolina. And in the Marines, they tell you to go do stuff. Hey, wait, go over here and shoot this. Go over here and swim and do that. You don't ask questions, right? You just go do it. You ask questions, you're going to get your teeth knocked out, then you got to do it anyway. So just go do it. But what they were doing, they were testing me. So I'm 6'5", and I could shoot. So when it came time for our duty stations, most of my classmates were going to Norfolk, Virginia. And I was happy because that's close, right? I wasn't going somewhere overseas and, any of that. And when it came to my name, I'm a Ware. So my last name's Ware. So I was at the very end of the list. And so I had to go to my gunny's office, and they said, look, this is where you're going. He put out an atlas. Again, this is 1989 now, right? An atlas. So he breaks out an atlas, and he says, this whole page, this is the United States. And he flips it like 8 pages, points to a dot. This is the Philippines. This is where you're going for 2.5 years. And guys, no exaggeration, I can feel the tears welling up at the bottom of my eyes. And I'm blinking them back, right? Because I never left home. but man, that was a great time, over there. I ended up working in the in the embassy and doing patrol duty over in the Philippines.
Mhm.
It was great. Ended up doing Desert Storm thing. Came back to California and went to school there and ended up being a marksmanship coach. And ended up leaving that and came back. And my degree is nothing in motorsports, exercise science and physiology. So, I was teaching people to work out, get in shape, working with athletes, that sort of thing. And but I always grew up around cars. My dad drag races. He grew up running the IHRA circuit here in North Carolina, the Rockinghams, Darlingtons, Bristol areas, doing the national meets, and locally at a lot of our tracks. So I was around cars, growing up, and realistically loved it, but I never drove the car. I never got into it because, again, honestly speaking, it wasn't always rosy. You hear about success stories of people racing. Hey, it was not. Dad got home on maybe a Sunday night, maybe Monday morning, depending on where he's racing. He'd get home, go to bed, and he'd go to work. From work, where'd he go? He went to the shop. He worked on the car Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday, he's back on the road. And over time, Mom got tired of that craziness. She felt like a single mom. And they had let's just say they had a conversation, so I was old enough to remember that. I was like, okay, well, I don't want to do that. Going out, I don't want to be on the road like that. And I did a different route. And as I got older, my wife and I owned spa business. And just one day, guys, just sitting in there listening to the elevated music. I'm surrounded by 40 ladies in the back giving massages and things. And I'm like, I am tired of this. So I knew I wanted to get back into motorsports. I just went out and I got a job over in the NHRA side with Don Schumacher Racing. It was commission-based. It was 100% commission-based, doing, selling sponsorships. Grew from that, learned how to do that. Ended up, getting a salary and other things. And I kept wanting to grow. And to me, the best opportunity to grow in sponsorship, who required the most money, was in NASCAR. So, again, shooting for the top, who did I go for in NASCAR? Richard Petty. So just reached out to him. Hey, you guys need some help doing this. And the first year I was kind of a trial thing because I didn't have any experience with it. And after that, it just grew, and here we are.
So you sourced them out. You went to the top, and you went for that brass ring and said...
That was my first sale job to Richard Petty Motorsports. I had to sell myself to them.
Nice.
Absolutely.
Nice. Shoot for the stars, kids.
That's right. You never know where you're going to land. And I ended up at it and had everything that's thrown at me. You wanted it, here you go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And before we go any further, AJ, you had mentioned at the very beginning you are a Marine. Thank you for your service.
You're very welcome. It's one of those, you have a job where, we all have that job, right? Where somebody talks crap and you can't do anything about it. In the Marines, you can. Just go overseas and take care of that, So it's good. Thank you, guys. It was good stuff over there, for sure.
Do you find that a lot of the sponsorships, do companies come to you with the need, or do you get from the company and say, hey, we need to find XYZ type of sponsorships? Is it both ways or percentage?
It is both ways, but it's probably 10% inbound. This is just for us. Other teams may be a little different. For us, it's about 10% inbound and 90% us going out there and shaking the trees. Yeah, so we really try to find those that, again, are going to fit, with the brand or a category that we have open. We may have the official beverage or the official lubricant or, something like that. So sometimes it gets, specific as well if we want to do an exclusive category.
So AJ, when we're talking about sponsorships, one of the things that may come up in that conversation might be, what can I do for you? What can you do for me?
Correct.
What seems to be that number one, what can I do for you as, the Petty GMS spokesperson?
For me, asking that question, probably the number one answer is sales. They want to see that dollar amount at the end of it, right? So then, okay, that's when I ask even more questions, so I'm really, picking their brain because I want to be an extension of their sales team. Basically is what it is. I'm an extension of their sales and marketing team. I want to be, part of those conversations. When they talk about spending money somewhere, I would love for Petty GMS to be in that conversation. So it's definitely sales. And then, okay, sales where? Sales to who? How many sales? How do we track those sales? Is it a sales team? Is it a salesperson? Or is it, like, for example, this is pretty cool. This is the first time I've done this. So next weekend, we're going to be racing in Bristol Dirt.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the 42 to 43 car. The 42 has Gain, the detergent. 43 has Tide, the detergent. A lot of people were confused about that because they are quote unquote competitors, but they are both owned by Procter & Gamble brands. So we're going to have some fun with it, a little in-house rivalry, sort of thing. But that sponsorship for us made sense. We're racing on dirt.
Dirt, yeah,
right. Tide. We're selling Gain. So and what we did last year when Eric ran out there, driver Eric Jones, he was covered, in dirt. You're going around those, it's just dirt. If you've been to Bristol, that dirt can go anywhere, that dust cloud. And so just covered, but we went back and threw that fire suit, that driver suit over in the washer, threw some Tide in it, came out and it was perfectly white. So
nice.
We ended up it again. So that sponsorship made sense to us.
All of our listeners know it's not racing unless there's dirt in your beer.
That's right. That's right. Dirt and a little bit of grease here and there.
Yes, exactly. Man, having Tide or any kind of laundry detergent as a sponsor, that's just a match made in heaven.
It is, and people know, it smells, and that's something else that we have to, take into account with the sponsorship. We try to touch, all the five senses. Can they eat it? No, we don't want you to eat. Actually, put out a disclaimer: do not eat the pods.
Oh my!
Do not eat the pods. So we have that, and of course, they can see it, they can hear the car, they can smell, the product. So that's when it's a very successful sponsorship, where we can touch as many of those senses as we can and get people engaged and people know. Another thermometer that I use is the merchandise sales. How many of those die casts are we selling, pre-selling? How many of the shirts, the caps, things like that? How many do I see at the racetrack? There's a lot that we look at, for a successful campaign. But it is good to see the fans come back. Tide is by no means new to NASCAR. It's been around forever. We're a little dormant for a while, but it's great to be, partner with them and see their enthusiasm, especially with their open minds with bringing in their sister product Gain.
I just wanted to say that you took the words out of my mouth. Tide has been around for a long time, long-time sponsor of Darrell Waltrip. I mean, he's kind of what put Tide on the map. And now here we are in 2022 with one of the biggest names in NASCAR and one of the biggest sponsors. I think that's pretty cool that we kind of come back to, the roots of NASCAR with some of these somewhat old-time sponsorships.
Correct. And that's just that's hats off to the NASCAR brand itself. It works. If it didn't work, they wouldn't be coming back, right? So, they knew what it was, back in the day. Hey, it worked here. Let's go back. And that's actually something that, I tell our team in our approach. They said, well, hey, it wasn't broken before. It just changed a little bit, but it's not broken. So we do go back and look at, some of those engagements, some of the paint schemes even. We like to, keep the history going, a little bit. We changed it up, a lot because we want our own identity, right? With, RPM and now, Petty GMS. So we have that. But it is good to see so many, like STP. We're going on our 51st year of having STP associated with Petty. I mean, man, it's just awesome. I mean, I don't think there's another brand in motorsports that's been around that long with one person.
No, I don't believe so. And that's synonymous with Petty. You look at the colors, you look at the red, white, and blue, and it's all surrounded by that. And I can see chrome bumpered cars. And as NASCAR evolved through the late 70s and 80s and 90s, it's still those colors, but it's still fresh. And that's a long-term partner. Yeah, and it's great to have them on board. They still want to be engaged. And we're talking to them right now. We had a conversation, and I'm laughing because, they've been a partner for Petty forever. And they say, well, hey, let's do a throwback scheme for Darlington.
we can just run the same car we ran last year. It's the same thing. It's the same sponsor. Let's not kill ourselves with this, But we're working on it. We're trying to work on something different this year. We also want to keep it fresh and put some thought into it. Which year comes out, and we do have a plan. This is the first time in a very long time that we've had the 42 back within the Petty, brand. So we're thinking about something like that. But I mean, you're right. It's having STP on board is great. We changed it up a little bit last year, so we went with the 1999 John Andretti, version of the STP. Paying a tribute to him. Great friend. Andretti's we call them our racing cousins. Very, very tight, the Petty and the Andretti brand. And their families. And so we did that, but we changed it up a little bit. We didn't go with the red. We went with a burnt orange for the color. And so we try to change it a little bit to make it distinctive, but definitely, it's great to have STP on board for that long and engaged, by the way.
Jason, we sure get to talk a lot.
Yes, and some of us more than others.
Oh, me?
I'm not pointing any fingers.
Yes, you are. But we want to hear from our listeners. Just go to our website, getoutanddrive.com, scroll to the bottom of the page, and click the listener hotline button. We want to hear from you. Cool stories, breakdown stories.
Questions, comments.
Hate mail?
Even hate mail?
Even hate mail. You got a car show in your area? Let us know.
Tell us an interesting story.
Let us know what you like to get out and drive.
So one thing I guess that I want to know is, we talk a lot on the Get Out and Drive podcast about what drives youth. And we want to know what is being done within NASCAR, maybe even specifically within Petty GMS, to bring youth back into NASCAR, or bring them into NASCAR to show them kind of the ropes. What kind of programs are there that NASCAR is putting together, or that Petty GMS is putting together to help bring youth into the sport again?
I'll probably start with the STEM programs, that we have. And that's at the NASCAR level. That's at several team levels. Some of our competitors have STEM programs. We're developing one here. I'm actually on the advisory board for a local college here, Winston-Salem State University. Just getting out and going to them, not really relying on the kids to get to the track, because, that's kind of hard. And it's very overwhelming. I mean, this is NASCAR. It's big. It's a monster. We go in, we do our thing, and then next weekend we're somewhere else. So it's getting in and letting them know that there are different opportunities. Kind of like myself. I'm not driving, right? I'm not working on the car. And it's really good because as I go through some of the tracks, I have kids stop and ask me, because I'm semi-dressed up. I have on business shoes. I have on black Dockers. I have on a shirt that's tucked in. So they know this guy absolutely cannot be working on the car. What do you do? So
awesome.
So then I'll let them know, look, this is what I did. So, oh, we didn't know about that. So it's one, being approachable, and just taking that little bit of time. And I do that because that's how I got started. I used to go to the track, with my dad, and I get lost. I go out and talk to the pro guys and hanging out. And again, it was, I grew up around drag racing, and you guys know how accessible a drag race is. You can just walk in the hauler if you want to, pretty much,
Right.
So I was always around those drivers, and I remember that. And now I'm in the sport. So I really give it, to those drivers back in the late 70s, early 80s for giving me their time. And now I'm trying to repay that favor by giving those other kids, a little bit of my time. I think, it's a compliment when you can teach something. That means you kind of sort of know it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's, I would say, the STEM programs there, getting the colleges out. We have Air Force as one of our partners. So they partner with a lot of local schools, and we bring them, out as well. Again, that's one of those great partnerships, right? So it's a STEM program. Whether they go out and they go out and fly a drone or something, or, on a tank, or they learn mechanics and come back and they can be one of our engineers. They can be one of our, they can work, they want to travel, they can work back at our shop. And we have a NOC, it's a network operating center. So they can work within that. So it's a lot that they can do rather than just going to the track every weekend and working on the car and getting their hands dirty. We need those brains, and that's, that's what the kids are for. And like technology, right? Like our phones. If something breaks down on my phone, I'm asking my 15-year-old. You know, hey, look, I'm not even wasting time trying to look it up. Look, Aiden, fix this. You know, and he's got it. You know, so those kids come in with fresh ideas, fresh eyes, fresh ways of thinking. I mean, and they're the future of our sport. They're the future of all motorsports. So definitely, it has to be a priority to get them engaged and keep them engaged.
I know as an adult child myself, collecting everything with wheels that moves. And I know NASCAR in itself as an entity and teams have. Do you find Petty GMS targeting the youth market or the older youth market, which is me, for NASCAR collectibles and things like that? Do you target specifically a certain age with paint schemes or die cast or things like that, you know, generally trying to do that?
We try to do everything. You know, there's a lot of history in NASCAR, and if you don't believe me, just go on one of these social media sites. They'll let you know. Mm-hmm. You know, we'll change up something. You'll see it. Oh, I don't like that. You know, like when we like the new next gen car. I mean, how many negative comments? Hey, we moved the number back. Oh no, we don't. So it's everything. You know, so
wow.
You know, so we really try to get everybody. Try to please everybody. I know that's that cliche. You can't please everybody, but I think in certain situations you can. You know, we can put out the flat, you know, like I mentioned earlier, the burnt orange rather than the red, you know, so we put that out. It's a little bit flashier, you know, put that out there for the youth, but it's still STP, which is appeal to the older crowd. They understand it. It's still petty. The older crowd will understand it, but it's got the new look, the new car look, and it's got the fresh colors to appeal to a younger audience. So, yeah, we try to do both.
Yeah. Us geeks are watching you, man. We know. And we know.
Yeah. And look, and you're keeping us in line, which I appreciate. So remember, I didn't grow up in NASCAR, so it's great to have, you know, people, you know, kind of, you know, keep me in check every now and then.
So quick question for you. Sure. I just received a text from one of our Get Out and Drive production staff, and she's asking, what's it going to cost us to get a Get Out and Drive sticker on one of your Petty cars?
Oh, man.
Oh, I don't know. It depends on what race, what size sticker, you know, all of that, but I can absolutely make that happen.
Awesome.
Well, that sounds fantastic. I will look for it on the next diecast that I buy.
And if you can see that going around the track at 195 miles an hour, you're doing good.
Wow.
Right.
Wow. We have had our logo, I think the fastest we've run is 216 miles an hour on Big Red Camaro. So I think that's the fastest one of our decals has run. So I'm sure you'll let us know if one goes faster.
Yeah, I don't think we'll break that one. We may have to call out my buddy Joe Morrison and put it on the side of his top fuel dragster.
Yes, that is, and we love it. Hashtag get out and drive fast.
Right, literally.
Yes, exactly. Well, that is totally cool. Do you feel it's kind of weird being immersed in what you do? Because what you do, and you said you're walking around and you're obviously dressed well, and someone recognizes that you're not going to be working on a car and you're not going to be over the wall and things like that, and they recognize that you're dressed differently than everyone else. Does it seem surreal when you realize what you're involved with?
It does, and it's great to get that reminder because I understand, my role, my positioning in life, and what I do, and the responsibilities that come along with that. Kind of what I mentioned earlier, about our partners, working with the Petty brand. Well, I have to represent that brand every single day, day in and day out. I have people, I forget. I get out and I'm wearing Petty gear, and I get out and I go to the grocery store. People stop me. Hey, tell Richard I said hello, or do you know Richard? I say, yeah, I see him quite a bit, and so it is a responsibility, to do that. And every now and then I have, very surreal moments. I had one again this year, because of COVID, we didn't have fans in the stands, and the Daytona 500 this year was sold out. So well over 100,000 fans packed in the stadium, and we're standing out there, at attention, hands across the heart, and the Thunderbirds are flying over during the national anthem,
Wow.
and cold chills, right? You're just standing out there like, yeah, it's back, and let's get this thing started. And, Trace Atkins is singing the national anthem. So it was another, surreal moment. And every now and then I had that reminder when I'm with Richard. We'd go out and we'd do a autograph signing, and I see people, fighting to get in line, or I see a line wrapped around the building. And I'm like, man, this guy is 84 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And still, he's signing autographs for people who weren't even born when he drove his last race.
Yes.
I'm like, how do you even know Richard? So, but it's the power of branding and what he does, day in and day out. And he's so in tune with it that, it's like sometimes, I ain't gonna say the bad person, but I had to police that a little bit because he gets tired. And I kind of know that threshold's around an hour if he wants to sign autographs. So I stand out and I cut the line off just so he doesn't have to do it. So nobody can say, hey, Richard Petty cut me off and wouldn't give me his autograph.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'll do it for him. I'll be that person.
Be the heavy.
The person you're hanging out with and going to dinner with, 200 people are wrapped around the building just to see him for a moment.
A moment, and just this past weekend, at Richmond, and I saw a guy, he had the old Plymouth Richard Petty shirt on, and I'm walking by the guy, and Richmond's got that new setup where the garage, so they can see the haulers, they can see the cars, and I was walking by the guy, I was going to the grid, and I just asked him, hey, did Richard see, your shirt? I said, that's a nice shirt. He said, no, I've never met him. And I literally turned around and I pointed, dude, he's sitting right there.
Mm-mm.
The dude took off running. He said, oh my gosh, this guy, grown man, just ran off. And I'm sitting there thinking, I say, I have the privilege of being able to sit with Richard if I want to every single day.
Right.
So yeah, I had to remind myself, that how fortunate, I am.
That has to be an amazing feeling. I can't even, I don't know. Like, I can't even figure it out.
But I'm gonna tell you the best part of that, John.
Yeah.
Is sitting around listening, because when you see Richard, you see Dale Inman, his old crew chief. You see old 8-time, somewhere close by.
Sure.
And when they go out, again, I didn't grow up in NASCAR, but hearing those stories, and trust me, they're golden. There's some golden stories that come out. And I'm sitting there like, what? And we know the history of NASCAR and the running and, things like that. And to hear some of those stories of what happened back in the day and how it changed, and the history is pretty cool to hear it firsthand. It hasn't been passed down. It's from someone who did it. So it's
definitely.
Cool
He'd have to be a wealth of information for the evolution of NASCAR technology.
Absolutely.
Be it safety or physical technology of anything, how the car's built, handling, speed, aerodynamics, 100 different things. Just to pick that man's brain for a few minutes or an hour or whatever about that is an incredible thing. Right.
And his first story about something, to that point was when he invented the window net on the cars. That came from him. Right. He was out and his arms flared. I forgot what race it was. And the next race, his wife just knitted a net for him. Here, put it on the car. And next thing you know, everybody's got one. So it's pretty cool to see, those innovations, come out. It didn't come from NASCAR mandate. It was a racer just trying to make himself safer. Then the rest of the sport just kind of picked it up.
One of the things I think that we take for granted is that no matter how close or how far away from somebody you are, whether it be NASCAR, whether it be Hollywood, these are just regular people. And the king has made himself the king based on doing something that he loves, being very personable with the crowd. Anytime that I've ever seen, Richard Petty doing what he does, he's always got that smile on his face. He absolutely loves doing what he does. And from what I can tell, AJ, you do too. And I think that you seem like you fit right in. You talked earlier about having that partnership and making sure that, sponsors fit in with the team. And I think based on the conversation that we're having here today, you do that very well with Petty GMS.
Thank you. And even the other side, so we spoke about, Richard, because, that's where I started. So we had the GMS side. We have Maury Gallagher, he's also the CEO of Allegiant Airlines. And of course, Mike Beam, my president, and Brian Moffitt, our executive vice president. Those guys are out there grinding, and with, Maury, it comes in, Allegiant, he's got the stadium out in Las Vegas. He's got a new resort he's building down in Florida, Sunseeker. So it's a lot because we went from just the 43. Now we have all these properties. We got the, the 42 to 43. We got the 23 to 24 in trucks. We got the 43 in ARCA. So it's big, but it's also exciting. We brought along some great new partners, this season with Focus Factor and Black Rifle Coffee. Those guys are awesome over there. And so it's it's good. We have, Richard Petty, everybody knows them, but man, you look at all the wins that GMS has had, the world championships they won over in trucks. So it's been great, the success, and we're running a lot better this season. And that can be contributed to a lot. We got, the new team, the new car, new crew chiefs are, in, and again, having that knowledge from, Mike Beam and the rest of those guys over at, GMS. It's been a good season so far, but we're still hungry. We still need those wins, to come in, but it's baby steps. You got to crawl a little bit before you can, walk and run, but we're going to get there. Our new hashtag that we're using on social media is a hashtag, "This is our time," and that was taken from Maury when we announced that, this is a partnership, and Maury, his phrase was, "This is our moment in time." But that's a little bit too long having a hashtag. So we just shortened it and said, "This is our time," as a reminder to our team. Because again, I love what I do. Half of my office is at a racetrack, but we get tired at times, right? It kind of beats you down, over time. And when I lose a fish, I lose the partner to somebody else. But that hashtag reminds me, this is our time, and it keeps me hungry. And so it's really good to have, Petty on one side and Maury and Mike and GMS on the other side. Pretty good.
Yeah, you don't realize, as a lot of people have, and you see photographs, you see a moment in time.
Right.
Don't realize today's Wednesday, I believe today is Wednesday. So I don't even know. But today is history. I mean, there's something happening. There may be something happening with Petty GMS that you were involved with at a race this weekend or this month or soon coming up. That is a pivotal moment in NASCAR. And for you, it's a weekend.
Right.
You don't know what's going to happen. So you give it 110% all the time. So you can look back on the past and you can see that little moment in time and you can say, I was there at that event and my actions led to helping this event happen, or a photograph or whatever. And it's amazing to be in your position and to be in Richard Petty's position to look back in the history of his NASCAR racing career and say, I remember that weekend. That was the weekend that I felt bad, or I was sick, or I put on 2 left shoes in the dark, or something silly. But the world doesn't know that. But he as a person, he can look back and say, man, I remember that weekend. I won at Bristol in that weekend and this and that. And it's that has to be an amazing feeling.
It is. And the one that really stands out to me, when you mentioned that, John, is, when we ran the Black Lives Matter car, when we had Bubba, and I understand people on both sides of the fence. I get that, I do. I grew up in North Carolina. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember that conversation. I remember it was a Tuesday night. I remember 10/17. I vividly remember that because when I look down and our CEO's calling me at, after 10 o'clock at night, that's a problem.
Right.
So I'm thinking, okay, why is he calling me this late? So, and that was a discussion that we had is, running that car, designing that car,
mm-hmm.
Getting it out. That was a Tuesday and it was on the track on a Wednesday. And I remember every paint scheme, by the way, that we come up with that is new, we had to submit it to NASCAR for approval.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, sending it in and them coming back and, like, yeah, I said, okay. And we knew kind of what it was going to do, but man, that was like, wow. It was completely different, So that was one of those moments in time, that you mentioned for sure.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah. That has to be a memory that's just going to be burned into your brain forever. Because
it is, but I think, there's good and bad out of it, but I think for the most part, it was a lot of good. I like to think so anyway, but, honestly speaking, I never had a problem before that in NASCAR. I'd go around and, I was never disrespected or, anything. And I'm not hard to find. I'm 6'5", so I stand up. People saw me, but I never, had any kind of negativity or anything, within our sport, at all. And again, I grew up in the South, and, I get it, but I honestly never had any trouble even before. Even now, I don't.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Jason, we've got a new ambassador for National Get Out and Drive Day this year.
I've heard that, and I'm pretty excited about it too.
NortheastWheelEvents.com. There'll be a new ambassador for National Get Out and Drive Day, which is this year, October 2nd, 2022.
And if you want to list your event, you can go to NortheastWheelEvents.com and tell everybody about what's coming up in your area.
We've chosen an upcoming show that's listed on NortheastWheelEvents.com. May 1st is A Day in May. That is a show that the proceeds go to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. If you're in the Northeast, go to NortheastWheelEvents.com. Find out about shows in your area. We touched on NASCAR with diecast and kids and things like that. How many hoops do the diecast producers have to jump through to get your okay to make a car? Or is it, there has to be some kind of hoops and things like that. Or do you run a paint scheme specifically because a diecast entity asked you to? Or is there any kind of partnership there?
I'll answer as much as I know.
Okay.
Our VP of licensing, Jim Hannigan, runs that operation. He does it well. He's a one-man wrecking crew when it comes to licensing. But the design of the car is an agreement between the race team and the sponsor. And so the sponsor typically comes out with an idea. And again, NASCAR's got these rules that we have to live within. And of course, our sponsors don't know that. The size and the font and all that, and the way it looks and where it's positioned on the car, angles and all that. And our creative guy, Bradley Simpson, does a great job with that, getting those cars out. So I just come up, hey, here's the partner, and I pass it off. You guys, design the car, put it together, and then it gets to Jim. But it is a lot of hoops. That I do know, because I see the paperwork on his desk, and I see things, and we have our weekly meeting. It comes down, it's kind of a temperature check. We'll put out pre-sales, and it has to hit a certain number even before an official order goes in. So then once that official order goes in, then the diecast is created and it goes on sale, and it goes to this on this website, or it comes to us, and it may go to NASCAR.com or something like that. So it is a process for sure. Exactly how many hoops, I don't know. But it's a lot. It's a lot. And then, of course, you have multiple diecasts, right? We mentioned the Tide. So the Tide's coming out. That's our active one right now, Tide and Gain. I don't know. So we'll see. But it is some hoops for sure.
Wow. Yeah, that's always intrigued me about licensing and things like that for making life-size things that are popular in miniature and making them accurately.
Correct. And again, Jim has that eye, and we're spotting them. We can spot a fake a mile away because because Jim's trained us. So we know who makes what and who doesn't. We know if the Petty Blue is off a little bit or the design, because we sat in on the design of it. So we'll know what goes where, and that's I look at that as me growing my history. So I'll know 20 years down the road that's not it, because this is what we did. That process is very detailed. How those items get out, and it's protected. They're licensed. They're protected. Jim's the hound dog on that to make sure that the right people have our best interests at heart. But he does listen to. He's got a great relationship. With his vendors. what sales, positionings, how many they have, from shirts to male, female, to sometimes even hero cards. How do we design those? Do we put Eric's picture up there, or do we put the car? Or do we do both?
Yeah, there's a lot of decisions have to be made by a lot of people that coming together to one end.
We talk about the positives of it. Yeah, we've made mistakes. We put out something that didn't sell, that didn't meet MOQ or something, and we're like, man, we kind of missed the boat. Or we'll design something and Bradley will come out with it and we'll see the sneak peek. It's almost like it'll bring tears. Like, oh my God, I cannot wait for this to get out. The fans are going to go crazy,
right,
with this design. So we know almost immediately when we hit a home run. Then that's when Jim's foaming at the mouth. Hurry up and get it so I can just get it to my vendors, and he'll leak it to them so he can kind of sort of get. And sometimes, the sponsors, they'll come in and they'll meet MOQ for themselves, because they'll buy up, do the 250 or 500, whatever the number is, and they'll get that to give to their employees or to their customers. And so that car is still in circulation, because that's extra branding, right? Even when that race is over, years down the road, somebody's going to have that die-cast 5, 6, 10, 20, 30 years later.
And it is, because again, I know a lot of our listeners are NASCAR and diecast and toy collector geeks like I am. And if something is available in a limited number, people are either going to hoard it or immediately flip it.
Right.
It's just, again, it's amazing to be in your position, to be available, to be part of that at all, the decision making in that. It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. We did this last year, and you just reminded me, I forgot to mention this when you mentioned diecast. So we're sitting around and we just had this idea, Jim again, and this out of thin air. He's like, there was never a diecast really made, a race one diecast really made of Richard's 200 win car. Let's do one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's probably the most sold car that we've ever had. It was just an idea.
Right.
It's like, hey, it was, the 200 win car was there, but it wasn't in race one condition. So now it's got the rubs on it, the tire marks, all that. Yeah, let's send it out.
Yeah, and that's some of the most popular die-casts are the raced versions.
Correct.
Or the ones, the win versions with the confetti and stuff all over the top of them and all that. Just absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and just for your listeners, I'll link this for being a great listener of Get Out and Drive. If you're in Daytona too, coming up this season, Richard is going to sign 200 of those.
Wow.
Wow, that's awesome.
Diecast. Yeah.
Well, there you go. You heard it first on Get Out and Drive podcast. You could get the inside track.
And just as a note too, is, when you decide that you want to buy that 200 win diecast, and whether it be the autographed copy or not, like, you're going to sit that up on a shelf, and I guarantee you it's going to sit by itself for a long time, because Richard Petty is the only 200 win NASCAR driver ever.
Right.
Wow.
Yep, it's good stuff.
Yeah. Again, history. It may be just a Tuesday or just a Sunday for some people, but history. Absolutely crazy and amazing. I'm enlightened. First of all, I'm just speechless. Second of all, I got to meet you and hang out at SEMA. We talked about some oddball stuff for a few minutes, and in the RacingJunk.com booth. I don't know. I can't even begin to put words together how cool it would be to be in your shoes, and that your job is available for people that want to be part of anything at all. I mean, if people want to be part of ice skating, hang out with people that ice skate and you'll go somewhere. If you want to be part of NASCAR, call them up and cold call them and say, hey, this is what I do and this is what I'd like to do. And I try and promote having the younger generation learn with their mouth shut. And that would be the best thing I could ever tell anyone. And you talked about that with the Marines.
Correct.
And that's a very big, important thing with the Marines, is learning with your mouth shut. And the forcing part is irrelevant, but it gives you character.
It does. And it teaches good habits. When I first got out, people, they're looking at my resume, and it was almost opening a door. Oh, you were in the Marines. Come on in. You got the job. And the kids, today, the youth that's out there, and, some may be, intimidated by it, but I tell them, look, just go for it. No regrets, none of that. Don't waste time. There's things that, I wish I would have done when I was younger. Someone told me that. And I mean, again, look at me. I didn't have a degree in marketing. My degree is in something completely different. And I'm working with probably the most famous NASCAR driver of all, the most recognizable for sure. Yeah, I mean, let's go out and just ask, but definitely be ready. When I asked, I was ready, but I wasn't ready, if that makes sense, Because
It does. You think you're ready.
You think you're ready. But let me tell you the coolest thing. So I'm going in for the job interview. And so I pull up to the Petty Museum, and there's a new Camaro out there, 19, just out there doing donuts, right? And so they tell me to wait so I don't get hit. And so the Camaro stops, and they say, all right, come on across the highway. So I'm walking out. So I'm walking the highway. The Camaro door opens, and it's Richard. He's in his own parking lot doing donuts. And then he was 81 years old, So I'm like, I made the right choice coming for this job interview. That right there was worth it. To your point, a moment in time, right? I remember vividly my job interview. He was doing donuts in the parking lot.
Yes. Oh man, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. I'm just, I don't know. Ridiculous. You've finally done it. You've made John speechless. Ask anybody, that's hard.
Right?
Yeah, ask anybody. That's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
So AJ, I know it was cool talking with you. How can our NASCAR listeners find out more about Petty GMS?
They can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram at Petty GMS. Our website, as well as pettygms.com, so you can go over there and get some merchandise as well.
Well, that sounds very simple and easy to find.
One thing that I've learned from my brother-in-law over the years is he's got this neat little saying, and that saying is, you'll never soar with the eagles if you're going to hang out with turkeys. And I think that kind of ties into this very well to say, if you're just going to go out and you're going to hang and do a menial job for the rest of your life, well, that is all you will aspire to be. But if you do have those aspirations to get out and do something special with your life, go out and say, I want to do that job. I want to work with this certain person, or I want to work with this certain company. You're going to do it because the power of your mind that says, I'm going to get out and make it happen. And there's a lot of people who just don't have that motivation today. And again, I said it earlier before, I see it in you, AJ. I see that you've got that and you've had that motivation to get you where you are today. And it's been an absolute pleasure getting to talk with you today.
Yep.
Thank you guys. Had a blast. I appreciate your time and thank you for having me. I appreciate that.
Cool. Totally cool, man. Thanks for hanging with us.
Thank you, guys.
Jason, I know you're new to the Get Out and Drive podcast. Don't you have something else on YouTube like every Thursday?
Yeah, we have a podcast style live stream that happens on YouTube called the Car Guy and Six Fan Show. It's myself and Grant Tommy, who goes by Straight Six Fan on YouTube. And we talk a lot about cars, only it's live. If you're not getting enough on the Get Out and Drive podcast, you can head over to the Car Guy and Six Fan Show every Thursday evening at 7 o'clock Central. It's a collaborative effort between myself and Straight Six Fan. So it alternates from my YouTube channel to his every Thursday night.
I've been there. It's cool. That's where all the cool guys hang out.
It sure is, and we look forward to seeing you again.
Are you looking for more action-packed car content? Head over to YouTube for the Car Guy and Six Fan Show on Thursdays at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Find a link in the show notes and let them know you heard about it from the Get Out and Drive podcast. Speed over to our friends at RacingJunk.com and sign up for a Pro Club membership. Use the code GETOUT to receive a discount when you sign up for a Pro Club membership. Cruise on over to our website, getoutanddrive.com, for all the info you never wanted to know about our podcast. Hit us up on our listener hotline, be the first to know what's happening, get industry news, and grab your Get Out and Drive merch. Connect with us on social media. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Follow us on Twitter at Get Out and Drive Pod.
What drives you?